up, y'all? I think you understand the concept of what this video is going to be, right? I'm just talking through the episodes. Specifically, I'm going in a numbered order. I'm not going in, like a tier list. I feel like if you're going, you have to decide, yes, this is definitively in this place and this place. It's more decisive, and that's what I wanted to do. Especially because there's not that many episodes at this point. I considered waiting till the end of season 2, but I don't. It's 3 more episodes, but it'll be December. I don't want to wait that long, man. I want to make this now. Because obviously, as more episodes come along, we get new seasons, rankings are going to change all over the place. New stuff's going to get slotted into new spaces. Wow. I don't know why that one was messing me up. New stuff's going to get slotted into new spaces. Stuff gets recontextualized, which can change placements. We're just going to see where I'm at right now. I don't think there's much else. You understand how a ranking works. Very quick thing first. The pilot is not included because I've never watched it. And it doesn't really count as an episode. It's not, properly canon. And, so, yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't care. I don't want to watch it. I didn't even know there was a pilot for a long time. I remember anticipating the Has-Been pilot for a while. I'd heard about it and was waiting for a while. By the time it actually rolled around, I wasn't even interested, so I never actually saw the Has-Been pilot, as much as I love Has-Been the show. But I did see the first Helluva Boss episode pop up. I saw Murder Family. I was like, oh, interesting. Watched it. Enjoyed it a lot. And now I'm here. But I never knew there was a pilot. That skipped me by completely. It was years before I learned that there was a pilot. So I've never watched it, and I don't really feel inclined. Also not included, makes sense, I would think, but I'm not doing the short Hell's Bells. It's a short. It's not a proper episode. It wouldn't be fair to rank it. That's the sort of thing once we get more of the shorts. Also, I'm assuming I'm going to get this out before the second short this month. We'll see. But yeah, that's a different beast. They can be their own thing when we have more of them eventually. Sort of same thing. Just Look My Way. I'm sure you wouldn't expect that, but I'm just going to mention it anyway. Not included. It's just a music video. It's its own separate canon thing, but that would be a music, a whole music ranking, which I ought to do. I kind of intended to do that for Has-Been, and then I kind of just didn't. But anyway, that is a lot of preamble. There's 17 of these, and I don't want to spend too long on them because this video could be forever long. So we're just going to get right to it. We're starting at the bottom. It makes sense. And what I consider my least favorite... that's unfair. I like all of the episodes. I really like this show, and I think all of the episodes are good. But there has to be an episode I consider the weakest. And that is C.H.E.R.U.B. Or I guess C.H.E.R.U.B. Because that's actually the only way they ever refer to it in the show. Which is stupid. These guys are stupid. Funny. They're dumb. Also, before I got this all together, I sort of assumed that I had tape. It's just the sort of thing you just kind of have all the time. I didn't have tape. Not proper Scotch tape. I have some electrical tape here, which is really stupid, but that's what I've got. I hope you can see that. I didn't do a great job. I probably could have printed out bigger things to put on this big piece of cardboard, but I digress. C.H.E.R.U.B. I consider the weakest episode. It's good. Like I said, it's a good episode. It's very funny. It's really funny. It has some of my favorite bits. The piano bit at the end. Hysterical. It's great. It has Blitz in drag. That definitely earns major points. I love when Blitz or Moxie are in drag. They're both in it this time. It's just fun, but that is also all that this episode is. Pretty much every other episode has a little something more going for it. Helluva Boss, part of its identity is the, contrast between it has, really deep and serious drama going on, and, character stuff, whatever. And then it's also really funny. This is entirely just being funny. That's all this episode is. And that's not bad. I just think it's like, everything else is just easier to put above. This would be like, in another show, in another weaker show, this would be like the standout best episode, probably. But here, with how this show's identity works, I consider it the weakest. And it's some people also, I know, dislike it because they don't like the cherubs. I think they're very fun. Like, they're doing a great job. And we see them later. Like, I think they're a lot of fun. I don't think they're annoying. Well, okay, like, they're a level of annoying, but like they're supposed to be because it's funny. Like, they're great. I enjoy them. I'm excited to see more of them even. But debut appearance, not my favorite. Moving on. Next, Murder Family. I really should have made these bigger. Anyway, this could swap places with C.H.E.R.U.B because I don't think it's a particularly strong episode, because you could really tell, especially on rewatch, they were still figuring out the show. I think they figure it out pretty quickly after this, but this does... You can tell this was like the first thing they were getting after the pilot. Like, it honestly feels like a pilot episode. If there wasn't like already a pilot episode, this feels like one. A lot of... It just, like, the humor, it feels like they're still, like, it's the same roughly, but like they're growing pains, like they're figuring it out. It feels more in line with Brandon Rogers instead of being its kind of own identity. Because the show, I definitely think, establishes... It's very Brandon Rogers in general, of course, because he writes for the show. But I feel like it's forged its own identity as it goes. It forges that as it goes along. And this first one, like, they're just figuring it out. And, like, because all three of them, like, Imp, are very, like, nerfed in this episode. Like, for the things they do later on in this show, they should not have struggled as much as they do in this episode. It's funny. The only reason... There's two reasons I'm putting it above C.H.E.R.U.B. One is that this is the first episode. C.H.E.R.U.B is the fourth. So, this is, like, more allowed to be a weak episode because it's the first one. You don't have expectations yet. Even on a rewatch, you wipe the slate clean, we're going back in from the beginning... This is the beginning. C.H.E.R.U.B comes after two other episodes that obviously I rank higher than it. So it just, by comparison, seems weaker. Also, this one has the slightest bit of something that is interesting for later, kind of unlike C.H.E.R.U.B. Like, yes, the cherubs appear later, but like this one's more interesting because this introduces the deal. The full moon deal with Stolas and Blitz. And the way it gets recontextualized for what is a relatively innocuous moment and seemingly set up for an admittedly incredibly funny joke with Stolas just not stopping talking into the phone. But the recontextualization is really interesting. Also, there's the one Moxie line that's fun later where he mentions how it'd be fine to kill a mafia family.
Maybe like a shitty dad or a mob family. That's understandable.
Because that also, at first, just kind of seems like it's a joke where he does a funny Italian voice, but it actually means something. So that's why I'm putting it above C.H.E.R.U.B. I still, like, it's still, I would consider, relatively weak. They're figuring things out. Everything just gets better as they go along. So... But with it placed, on to the next, which is Spring Broken. This episode is also, like, I'm probably going to say this for a lot of them. This is a good episode, right? It's low, but it, like, I still like it a lot. It's fun, it's good. It has some great, like, Drunk Moxie's a hilarious bit. Vraska's here and she's hot. Like, it's... And other people probably have this a lot higher, depending on how much you like Verosika, but it's just a good episode. I should probably grab some water. I might do that after this bit. But anyway, this episode kind of introduces the idea that a lot of the season 1 episodes sort of run into, where it's a lot of like setup for stuff we're going to deal with down the line. And setup just doesn't tend to be as interesting as the payoff. A lot, because you'll find, a lot of the season 1 episodes are a bit lower, and the season 2 ones rank higher, because the season 2 ones tend to be the ones where there's a lot more payoff for things that have been set up. That just happens to be more interesting and engaging. This is not, I wouldn't even consider this a weak episode. Like, these two are kind of weak. This one's not even a weak episode. It's just that it's the setup more than it's the payoff. Because we've got the stuff with Luna. I mean, Vraska's being set up for stuff down the line. It's just good. With Apology Tour existing, this episode does get, like, sadder on a rewatch. Like, with everything with regards to Vraska. You're just like, ooh, man. And that doesn't really affect its placement at all, but it would be hard for this episode to climb any higher, I think, when it becomes recontextualized into something a lot sadder and a bit less funny. Not that much less funny, but yeah, it's like, oof. Got my water. Alright, next up, this one might actually be a bit of a surprise. Truth Seekers. A lot of people hold this episode in very high regard, and not for, like, no reason, right? Like, this is where we really start transitioning much more into a more drama-heavy show, and it marks a very good change for the show. But that, like, the fact that it's sort of the start does mean it just gets better at doing all of that as it goes along. Like, this episode is not bad by any means. I need to stop saying that every single time, because I know I'm going to. This is a great episode. I love what it does for Blitz and for Moxie. Action is obviously awesome, but all of these things, it just, as the show goes along, it just does better and better. Like, they put a lot of time into the action scene in this. I remember, I sort of remember. I know it got delayed because of how much they were putting into the action, but it's not even the best looking action in the show. It gets upstaged by pretty much every subsequent action scene because they just get better at doing it. And that's kind of where this episode sits for me. It's really good, but it's the start of marking when things get extremely good. So, because it's the start, they get better as they go along. This one can't rank that high. And I don't want to say that's unfortunate, because it is good to get better as you go along. But yeah, like that's why it might seem kind of low in a ranking. It's just because everything is so good. The starting point of that's a weird way to put it, isn't it? Whatever. I feel like I justified it enough. You get why I have it low. We're moving on, okay? I'm already at like 15 minutes of recording, and there's so many more of these to go. So next up, Harvest Moon Festival. This episode's just fun, you know? Like, it's coming off of, you know, episodes I consider weaker, and that helps give it a leg up. It introduces Stryker, that's a big one. I enjoy Stryker. He's a great antagonist. I enjoy him a lot. And he's fun in the episode. Blitz is fun in the episode. Moxie's fun in the episode. It's cool Sally Mae's there. Trans bias, I suppose. But, like, it's just, I don't know. I'm always really excited to get to this episode. Like, because I like watching reaction channels, like, go through the series. That's sort of how I go about rewatching it. And I'm always, like, really anticipating them getting to this one, because I always enjoy it a lot. It could swap places with Truth Seekers, like, depending on my mood, maybe. But as it stands currently, I like it a lot. This is where it goes. Not even that much more to say about it. It's just a fun episode. I like it. Other things are better, but it's fun, you know? But we're going to move on now. And we're going to go to Queen Bee. You know, one thing I never noticed until I was getting the thumbnail, to, print out and everything, is that she's in the middle. She's in the 8. Because, it's hard to see, because normally they're very small. You probably can't even see it from there. But yeah, she's in the 8. That's fun. When I think it's, the bit when she's in the honey. Right, anyway. This episode, I'm whenever I did the ranking first, I was like, really? This isn't higher? But it's just hard to put this above other things. Because it is a spectacle episode more than it is furthering things. It still furthers things. I am glad we got this and that it wasn't forever stuck in purgatory, because I enjoy what it does for Luna. I enjoy getting a little bit more of Luna. I hope we get some Luna development sooner rather than later. I don't know if there's going to be any of that in the rest of this season, but I hope in season 3 we can start getting that. Maybe she gets us short. Who knows? But I'm glad we have this that is a bit more Luna-focused of an episode. I enjoy her. I enjoy Bee. And Kesha as Bee. I really enjoy Cotton Candy, the song, which is funny because I did listen to all of Kesha's discography and was like, wow, I don't vibe with Kesha's music that much. I like Kesha. Her music just doesn't happen to be for me. But she did write this one song for this that I apparently really jive with. I don't know what that's about. I really like the song in the credits, too. Monster Ball, I think that's what it's called. But it's just a fun episode. I enjoy it. I like the little bit more Blitz stuff we get that is, following up Ozzie's. It's just... I wish I could put it higher, but man, the show is so good and there's so many other really good episodes, I can't justify putting it higher. So it's living in, 6th? I probably should have been saying the numbers as I went along, but especially if you're not, looking at the board. Oh well. I'll do that real quick, actually. C.H.E.R.U.B, 17th. Murder Family, 16th. Spring Broken, 15th. Truth Seekers, I know what the title is. Truth Seekers, 14th. Helluva Boss. Oh my goodness. Harvest Moon Festival, 13th? Yes. Queen Bee, 12th. I really hope I didn't skip over any numbers doing that, because that would have been really stupid of me. We're going to move on now. I like the episode, but we're moving on. Seeing Stars. People are kind of harsh on this episode, or have been at least. I remember being a little harsh on it when it came out. Because I think the thing people say about it is the pacing. And I remember not being a huge fan of the pacing. And on rewatches, I no longer think it's the pacing that's the problem. I think it's just how little presence Octavia actually has in the episode. Which is, sort of related to the pacing, but not really, because I think the other stuff is paced fine. It's just that she should have gotten more to do, and her, the whole scene with Luna at the end should have been longer. That she should just... The interaction just should have lasted more. And also... They're trying to do this emotional through line in it, where Blitz is like, oh, I might replace you, Luna, and then he's like, no, I would never do that, whatever. But they don't, they introduce that, they don't do anything with it, and then they have him, in this movie studio, the TV studio, I get, it's not really learning a lesson, whatever. He has his emotional bit, and you needed to reinforce in the time in between that this is, a through line we're doing. And the thing is, it would have been so simple to do it. Because, it's really weird how... At the beginning, he's trying to be, slightly tough on Luna, and then he's immediately not tough on Luna ever again. Just have him be a little tough on her. When they hop into the human world, be like, okay, Luna, the only reason you're helping is because we need you to, sniff her out, okay? Otherwise, you'd be stuck at home. Just something like that, Don't have him be, his usual jolly self towards her specifically. And then, later, he's like, hey, go find Via, okay, we'll catch up soon, whatever. Just have him be like, you're still not off the hook, though, just something like that. It literally, one extra line in each of those scenes would have made this, emotional through line you're trying to build work way better. That was a lot of complaining for an episode I've ranked above a bunch of others because I still really enjoy it. I think this episode is really funny. And the bit where Blitz has his flashback with Luna is really strong. Like, I really like that. I enjoy a lot the scene with Octavia and Luna at the end. Specifically, the bit where Octavia is like breaking down a little bit, going, "Why does he hate her more than he loves me?" That's such an impactful line, and that alone does a lot for this episode. It has its flaws, but I still enjoy it a lot. And because it's a lot of, we're doing a lot more, and I think the humor, we're getting a lot stronger as we go along. It's not the best, but I like it a lot. I think some people might have it lower, because some people are just harsh on it, man. I don't think it's deserved, but whatever. Because I have other opinions that we'll get to later. But we're gonna move on now. We're gonna move on to actually the other Octavia episode, Loo Loo Land. I forgot to say the numbers again. We're on, Seeing Stars was 11. This is ranked 10th. Loo Loo Land is a really funny episode to me because the tonal shift from Murder Family to Loo Loo Land is really large. It's a very different feeling episode, and it feels different even from Spring Broken and C.H.E.R.U.B. and kind of Harvest Moon Festival. It feels way more in line with the stuff we start getting later, which makes it really funny to me that we get it second, because it just feels so different because of how much it's doing with Stolas and Octavia, which is why it gets up here. That stuff is really good. You Will Be Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad they have Stolas sing as much as they do in this show, because wow, he's good. Bryce is incredible. And the reason I assume they do this episode kind of early and why the tone feels the way it does is because I know that in the pilot, and which was, I guess, sort of the original idea, is that Stolas was going to be kind of just a villainous character. And I think, what was the interaction? Because I remember, I think it was Viv went to Brandon, because they didn't know each other that well, right? It was hey, I kind of want to turn Stolas and have Stolas and Blitz have more, it's less he's a villain comedy thing, and be it more a serious thing that we're gonna actually delve into and have him be not a villainous character. And she wasn't sure if Brandon would jump for that or whatever, and he was down. So thank you Vivian Medrano for having that idea. Thank you Brandon Rogers for going with it, because I love Stolas, and I'm so glad we get him as this very complicated character and not just a villainous one. And that's why I think this episode happened so early, because they needed to very quickly establish this new image for Stolas that they want. One that's more sympathetic, more nuanced. He's not a villain. He's just a guy who is having a lot of struggles. And I think it's good that they get that early. It just does make it funny. It feels so different from Murder Family. It feels so different from Murder Family. And that does boost it a bit, the fact that it's surrounded by episodes I consider weaker. Because that's also part of why Seeing Stars doesn't rank a bit higher, because it's surrounded by episodes that I would consider stronger. So it's just it's all none of these things exist in isolation, you know? That's enough on Loo Loo Land. This is gonna be a long video. Moving on! Western Energy. Ugh. I hope that's still visible. I didn't actually check it very well how visible that is. I might hold it up at the end or something. So in 9th place, Western Energy. So other people might rank this episode a bit higher. I have, from the start, always been a little about some things in regards to this episode. Specifically, why on earth does the Blitz and Luna subplot take up so much screen time? It's funny, but it's not funny enough to justify the amount that it takes up. And that, like, especially, I think Stolas deserved to be treated so much better by, like, the episode in, like, a meta sense than he is. He deserves to be treated better in general than being, like, tortured and almost killed. That's a given. But, like, by the narrative and the framing and the meta way the episode is constructed, he deserved more attention. Like, kind of like Octavia in Seeing Stars. Why is Stolas, like, almost playing second fiddle to, like, a comedy subplot in this episode? It's strange. However, that comedy subplot is very funny, and everything else is very good. Like, the thing that really brings it all around is the end. Like, man, like, Blitz, the not responding stings. It does, and I really like what that does for the episode. If, like, the fact that we do end, like, the last 2-3 minutes are just serious does do a lot for this episode. Because it's great, man. Stryker is so cool. Stella's here for a little bit, and I love Stella because she's such a bitch. I enjoy her so much. I'm excited to get more of her. And also, Androphis is funny, and I'm excited to get more of him, too. Like, there's a lot going for this episode. I have my complaints. It's a very flawed episode, but it's doing a lot of good. Also, one where I mentioned, like, Truth Seekers is outclassed by action in later episodes. This is one of them. The action, like the fight scene with Stryker, is awesome. And I just think it's better than in Truth Seekers, because they just got better at doing it. So, like, yeah, it's just good. It has its flaws, but I do like it a lot. So, okay, moving on, once again, the Circus. This one's also extremely good. The only real reason it doesn't rank, like, super high, not that this is low, but the only reason it doesn't rank higher than this is just because other episodes are all, like, doing a similar amount of, like, good for the drama stuff and are also funnier. That's really it. Because, man, the amount of recontextualizing this episode does is wonderful. It's so cool. And, the way you just get this sense of, like this interesting sense of sadness for knowing how things are currently going, like at the time of when the flashback is essentially happening. And especially on rewatch after we get further along, it's like, oh, you poor babies, you don't know what's happening. I also, in that, I like that we don't even know at this anything about what happened between Blitz and Fizz at this point. And we get the very interesting implication of seeing them, because we already had that at the end of Ozzie's, but, like, seeing them actually be, like, friends as kids, you're like, uh-oh, what happened? That's great, especially because they're not, that's not even a focus. Like, they have their little fun little playing together thing, but it's not a focus. Like, that comes back way later, and that's just good. Like, it's just a great episode. There's a lot of interesting symbolism and parallels that we get to stuff that happened before and stuff that comes after. Like, this, I really like, it's a great first episode for season 2. I really like, I forgot what I was gonna say. Shoot. Whatever. Stolas Sings is great. Bryce is, like, again, his voice is so good, and he, like, the sadness being put through it, because I remember, like, the whole thing, he, like, cried in the booth, and, like, you could feel it, man. It's just good. It's just good. Other stuff happens to be funnier, so other things get ranked higher, but it's just a great episode. And it's always one that's really interesting to revisit, in particular for how much it establishes, recontextualizes in its symbolism, parallel. It's just, this is good. But other things I do consider better. And the next one up is Apology Tour. I don't think I have this one placed low, but I know a lot of people would have this in their, like, top 5 or top 3. I'm fine having it in, where is it? Shit. It's in 7th. I feel really... I should have been saying the numbers along the whole time. Whatever, it's in 7th place. That's not, like, crazy low, but I know other people would have it, like, it's one of their absolute favorites. And it is good. Like, it is a great episode. However, there's, like, 2 big things with it for me. One of them is a bit more subjective. I don't like how hard it is on Blitz. I think it's too hard on Blitz. When everything preceding this was pretty well balanced between Stolas and Blitz in terms of, like, sympathy and perspectives and whatever, this one going really hard, leaning really hard and being against Blitz in particular and being really sympathetic to Stolas, especially when, in order to do that, it has to introduce Blitz being a shithead more so than he was previously. Like, it has to have him respond in this very particular way to what happened in Full Moon. It has to introduce us to the fact that he's kind of fucked with this many people in his life. When we didn't previously, none of that was previously established. Everything else is always dealing with stuff previously established. This episode had to establish new things in order to justify why it's so hard on Blitz. I'm not a huge fan of that. Especially because I don't think Blitz needed to learn this lesson first. I think Stolas needed to learn what he is going to clearly learn in coming episodes. Like, he should have done... That should have happened first, in my opinion. I think Stolas is the one who has more to learn than Blitz does. Especially because a lot of this episode is, like, the way Stolas is treated... Or, the way Blitz has treated Stolas. But it's almost not fair because Blitz did not realize what Stolas wanted and wasn't intending to treat him poorly in that way. It's just... I think... I understand it because what they did is they flipped the relationship. Before, Blitz didn't think Stolas wanted anything more than sex and couldn't recognize his feelings. Now, Stolas thinks Blitz only liked their relationship for the sex and doesn't recognize Blitz's reciprocated feelings. And that's cool. I do like that dichotomy. Like, I think it's cool to do the switch, and it's going to be an interesting thing to resolve by the end of the season. But it does come at the cost of, I'm not sure that was the best narrative direction to go. I think they should have done, at least the way things were set up, I think it would have made more narrative sense for Stolas to learn his lesson first, and then Blitz can learn this. I can't complain too hard, because the story content isn't bad. I just think it came in slightly the wrong order. There's also, I said there were 2 things. The other thing, why, Verosika, why doesn't she get to, headline this episode? You know? Through the first season, Verosika and Fizz are both set up roughly the same amount. Verosika headlines Spring Broken, she's in Blitz's Subconscious and Truth Seekers, and she is in Ozzie's. Fizz, he's a robot's in Loo Loo Land. It's not him proper, but there's the robot. The Fizzbot is more fun to say, actually. He's haunting Blitz in Truth Seekers, and he gets to headline Ozzie's a bit more. They get roughly the same... Oh, they're also both in Blitz's phone at the end of Ozzie's. They're both set up roughly the same amount. Fizz, we see a young Fizz in the circus, and then it takes 6 episodes, because that only sort of counts in terms of, moving things forward. So it takes 6 episodes for Fizz to appear again after the end of the first season. And then he gets that, he gets another episode after that, and he gets to appear a little bit in the subsequent episode. Verosika doesn't get to appear till episode 9, and she doesn't even get to, co-lead the episode. She's, tertiary in that episode, and does not get near as much for her character as Fizz does. And I just question that. Why set her up the same amount as Fizz if you're not going to use her as much in the same amount of time? I just think she deserved more. Especially because, I swear they've said, when discussing about stuff coming in the future, that Blitz and Verosika were both, not at fault, but they both of them contributed to the downfall of their relationship. This episode really just makes it seem like it was all Blitz. And the episode feels like it kind of resolves things between the two of them. Like, I don't know what more they're going to do with Verasika, because excuse me, I didn't even finish her name. What more they're going to do with Verasika, because as it stands, her character feels complete. She could never appear in the show again, and it wouldn't feel bad in a narrative sense. Obviously, they're going to do more with her. Like, there's no way they wouldn't, but it just... It's weird. It's weird. It's not necessarily bad. Like, I don't know. I've done a lot of justifying for an episode I still have ranked really high, because it is an extremely good episode. All To You, and, is the song just called Over You? I think it's just Over You. They both got you in it. That's confusing. They shouldn't change it. Whatever. Extremely good songs. I really want the soundtrack on Spotify. I really want them to hurry up. I know it takes a while and it's not a priority and there's a lot of paperwork and whatever, but I want to listen to these songs, man. They're really good in this episode. But, okay, I've talked too much about this episode because I have a lot to say about the next one, too. Full Moon. I think it's actually technically the Full Moon, but, like, whatever, man. No one adds the when something has a the in the title. It might be slightly controversial to have this above Apology Tour. I know a lot of people were annoyed with Full Moon, specifically because of the cherubs and dorks being here and it taking away from all the Stolitz stuff. I, prior to the episode, had that sentiment. And then I watched the episode, and the cherubs and dorks are so fucking funny. They're hilarious. And that it totally justifies it for me. Another thing, too. But, like, them... they're so funny, man. My favorite joke at this point in time in the entire show is the child soldiers bit. It's so funny. I know I'm probably going to be splicing footage in, but I'm going to just put the whole joke in here because it's so fucking funny to me.
Hardly big enough to fit a child through.
And we can't very well say children. After last time. Those goddamn American heroes.
They also have an excellent fight scene. Like I said, like they just get better at the fight scenes as they go along, and it's really good here. I mentioned, like, Fizz appears in this one. He's great. And Apology Tour is an episode that hurts, right? It hurts, and I wouldn't call it hurts in a way that feels good, you know? Full Moon hurts in a way that feels good. Like that, the whole... Like, the beginning and the ending, man, it's just, oh, fuck. You know, like, it hurts real good. And part of why I'm okay with why this episode doesn't have a ton of Stolitz focus is because I think the ending, choosing to end it where they do, is one of the strongest creative decisions I've seen out of the show. Cutting it there it's an emotional cliffhanger. Wonderful. Like, it was so impactful and so good. I enjoy it immensely. And also, like, because I don't really have problems with this episode, which is part of why it's above Apology Tour. And also, it's so fucking funny. It's so funny. That gets it above Apology Tour for me. I think Apology Tour structurally might be a better episode, and the story content I do like more in Apology Tour, but the framing of that story content's where some of my issue is. Don't really have that with Full Moon, so it gets to be higher. But that was 6th. We have now reached the top 5. So in the 5th spot, Ozzie's. I could have spaced these out better. This is, I doubt, a shock. Everyone loves Ozzie's. Like, it's great. It's... Because I mentioned way earlier, setup is just, like, a little less interesting than payoff. Because, like, payoff... I don't know, it's just the more engaging thing. And this is payoff. Like, the first real payoff we get. We kind of get it in Truth Seekers, but Truth Seekers is also a bit more setup. This is the real payoffs. for the first season, and it hits so good. Oh, Ozzie's is great. A lot of it is House of Asmodeus. Incredible song. James, I want them to get him to sing even more. Like, we get it in, we get some of it later, but he should be singing Wet. Like, that's entirely why he's in Apology Tour, because they're like, yeah, we're just gonna get James to sing. Like, I'm sure they could have gotten someone who maybe makes a bit more sense to be singing along with Veruska in that one. Because why is Tex there? Why is he there? He doesn't care about this. I guess they're paying him better. But anyway, that's off track. Ozzie's is so good. I am always really excited to get to it in a reaction channel, like rewatch thing. Especially because Truth Seekers is when we start diving into the drama. This is when we really mark that shift. And I've made some people like watch the show along with me, and I'm like, okay, you have to get to this episode, and then you can be like, that's when you want to get to it as soon as you can, because that's when you're going to really know if you're going to be invested. And let me tell you, I'm invested. And it got my like friends invested who are like, yeah, this is fun. But these earlier things, we hit Ozzie's, and you're like, ooh. It's so quality. I love it. It's great. And it's only outshone by a few more things. So we're going to start with one of those other things. Oops. This is some people's favorite episode, and that's absolutely fair. And some of it is based on how much do you like Fizz. I do love Fizz a lot. It's just a great episode. It's funny, and it gets really dark and serious. And I love learning that it's huge to have learned specifically what happened in Blitz's past. Honestly, I like because that recontextualizes Blitz's character a fair amount. It explains a lot of things. It informs a lot of understanding about him, which makes it interesting how long it took to get that. Especially considering the amount of episodes and the amount of real life time it took to get there. Because this episode, it really makes me this episode really started making me love Fizz. It made me like Blitz even more. Not that I didn't like him, but prior to this point, I think Stolas was pretty hardcore my favorite character, and this is when that started to change. It's just great. I don't even know what to say. This episode's so good. It's so good. I love the stupid Look at This song is fun. I am a Blitz Fizz person. I'm more of a when they were I enjoy it more when they were younger, young adults, teens, whatever age that was. That's my ideal flavor of it. But Fizz is so flirty in this episode once they make up. It's so hard to talk about this episode. Other people talk about this episode probably better than I do, and I'm just ranking them. But it's great, okay? It is well deserving of the 4th place spot. And moving to the 3rd place spot is easily my most controversial placement, and one that if you have taken note of what I've put up so far, paid attention, you're gonna be like, I cannot believe it's made it this high. Unhappy Campers. I will defend this episode forever. I think people are so wrong about it. The fact that some people consider this the worst episode is insane to me. This episode is hysterical. It is so funny. Because some people are like, oh, I don't like Moxie and stuff. What? The thing is, it'll be he's out of character. Are you kidding me? This is some of the most in-character Moxie we get. Not that he's ever out of character. My point, he's not out of character, guys. It boggles me. It's so funny. I enjoy that we get that conflict between him and Millie. I enjoy that we're establishing that their relationship is not hunky-dory all the time. Yes, they will fight a bit. And I think it's great because yes, they have this fight, they have this conflict, but Moxie immediately realizes he fucks up and goes to fix it. it's showing us why they work as a couple. And it's so good. I enjoy that we get some Millie stuff. I wish we got, like, more Millie stuff. Like, I think Ghost Fuckers is going to have a bit more Millie. It's still going to have a lot of Blitz, though. Like, I want a proper, full-on Millie episode. I assume we're getting that in, like, Season 3. It probably should have happened sooner. This is the closest we get. Makes me glad the first short does feature her and Sally Mae. But regardless, I'm glad we got that. A lot of people are annoyed that Barbie is introduced here and that she doesn't get to, like, lead an episode. I think that's a stupid opinion to have. Like, this is how shows work. You introduce someone a little bit and then you do something with them later. I kind of don't expect to do anything with Barbie in this season, with Barbie in this season. Just the way, it doesn't seem set up to get more of her. So I do think it is slightly weird the way they've gone about it. But, like, whatever, man. Barbie's cool. She's so hot also. Oh my goodness, is she hot. I want more of her desperately. You can take that in whatever way you want. But yeah, this episode, I love this episode. The music in this episode's fun. The stupid song that plays at the end is one of my favorites because it's so goofy and so fun. Like, this episode is so good. And, like, it maybe gets a little bit higher off the fact that out of, like, I'm spiting people who hate on it. Like, is it really top 3? Nah. Oops, and maybe Ozzie's maybe should be above it. But, like, I think spite's a perfectly fine reason to enjoy it. Put something higher in your own feelings on it. So that's why it gets to be in 3rd place. Penultimate positioning. Exes and Oohs. This one also might surprise a little bit. I don't think people dislike this episode, but they never seem to talk about it near as much as other episodes. And I'll be honest, the only reason it manages to get this high is, well, that's not the right way to put it. Well, okay. I think this episode can fluctuate in people's rankings entirely based on how much they like Chaz. I think Chaz is hysterically funny. I think he is one of the funniest characters. I enjoy him so much. And that because everything else in this episode is extremely good. But if you don't like Chaz that much, I can see it falling a bit further for some people. But because this episode is extremely good, I love the Moxie stuff. The fights, like, this is the best fight scene in the show, like, with Millie at the end, in my opinion. And I like the little bit of Blitz stuff we're getting, like the way we see how much he cares for his employees, what he's doing. It's all great. And then the fact that I think Chaz is so fucking funny, and, like, sometimes I wonder, is that really my second favorite episode? And then I think about it, it's like, there's nothing I dislike about this episode. It's really funny. I love the serious drama stuff it has going on. Like, it's great to have Richard Horvitz doing, like, a really mean version of his Moxie voice, which is also, he does the voice a million other times. But, like, it's really funny to have him be, like, super mean about it. Like, this episode's just great. This is one I really want the song at the end on Spotify. It's great. It's just, and Chaz is so funny, man. I want that on Spotify. Please, I need Chaz time on Spotify. I need it. I need it so desperately. It's so funny. Chaz is so funny. I don't even have much else to say. Like, if you don't like Chaz, if you don't find him that funny, this episode is going to rank lower for you, I'm sure. I find him so funny, it gets to be this high. But now we have finally made it. If you, like, remember all the episodes, you know which episode is number 1. It is Mammon's Magnificent Musical Mid-Season Special, featuring Fizzarali. It's such a stupid-ass title. It's really funny. This episode, in general, is really funny to me, because this season is so Stolitz heavy. And we know it's going to continue to be in these remaining 3 episodes. And yet, in the middle of the season, we do this big diversion to do a Fizz-led episode, and it's my favorite? Like, it's the best one? Like, are you kidding me? What? That's so dumb. But this episode's just great. It's, like, it helps that it's the longest one. It's doing so much, but it's giving itself time to do it. I just love everything about it, man. Like, I love Fizz and Blitz, like, getting to be buddy-buddy again. Their dynamic is really fun. Mammon's great. He's the worst. All of the music bits are fun. Like, even the goofy, like, juggling is cool, I think is what it's technically called. Like, that bit's, like, it's fun. And the thing with this episode, you could almost just watch this episode without having seen any other episode of the show. You could almost just watch this episode on. Like, there's a few things here and there that you wouldn't quite get an understanding of. But they still, even then, lay it out just enough that I think you could get it. Like, the narrative of this episode, like, it is going to inform things in the future, but it's so self-contained, and that does a lot for it. Like, other episodes are dealing with conflicts that were already introduced, or whatever. This one introduces this conflict of Mammon. Like, it was implied before, but it really introduces it, and then we deal with it. And it's just great, man. Like, 2 minutes notice fucking rules. Clown bitch fucking rules. I want that. Like, again, please get these songs on Spotify so I can listen to them. Sam Haft, please, you hearing this? You're not, but, like, please. Like, please. I just, like, it's great. Crooked, also really good. I should shout that out, too. It's just, like, it's so good. I love the emotional core with Fizz and Ozzie. They are so good together. I love them together. I love it. And this episode is what cemented Fizz as I would consider one of my absolute favorites. Like, the scene where he starts, like, he sees the little, presumably deaf imp kid in the crowd, and he calls him and he signs to him. It gets me emotional every time, especially when he does thank you at the end. Like, oh, it gets me every time. Like, it's so sweet. And I love what it does, like, a moment like that, a show don't tell moment for Fizz's character. It's just wonderful. Like, oh, I love this episode. It's so good. Like, cause it even gets me, like, Fizz about breaking down, and he, like, because he cares so much about Ozzie, and he wants to feel worth it, and oh man, I love this episode so much, and I'm not even sure if other people would consider this their favorite episode, and because, like, I'm people whose favorite character is Fizz well above everyone else might, are people who are, like, big on Mammon, big on Mammon, that's kind of funny to say. But, yeah. Like, because Fizz, especially after making my video about the idea of trans femme Blitz, Stolas, and Fizz are all kind of vying for favorite character spot. And Blitz might be taking it at this particular moment in time. But Fizz is really up there, and I love him, and this, like, it's just a good episode. It's so good. Other people would probably have other stuff high. Other people would have stuff like Ozzie's, or like Apology Tour, or maybe the Circus at the top. But for me, it is Mammon's, which is, like, it's much easier to call it that. Because, like, Mammon's magnificent musical mid-season special featuring Fizz-a-Raleigh. That's such a long name, man. I had to pull it up, because I never remember the order. I'm always like, Mammon's, like, mid-season musical, and then it's like, wait, no. Hi! So, I had to do a weird cut, because my phone, I record this on my phone, ran out of storage. And I about had a heart attack when because it was about an hour's worth of stuff. I get up, and I go over there, and I see it stopped recording, because it ran out. I'm like, fuck. Because I did this before on a video that I never actually managed to end up putting all together, where I recorded for, like, over an hour and a half. It was so long. And then I go and check, and it hadn't been recording for, like it only got, like, 3/5 of everything I did. And I was like, dude, that was awful. And I was so scared. I had a heart attack thinking that happened here. It just missed like a minute of stuff at the end. It just missed me doing the rundown at the end. Like, whatever. I finished talking about Mammons. Here's my board. I'm gonna do this quick so I don't run out of storage again. I had to delete Twitter off my phone to make space. I'm gonna run through. I hope this is in frame. I'm gonna run through. Yeah, here. Let me make sure it's in frame. Actually, I'm going to run through everything again. All of my ranking. Let's go. Gosh, I about had a heart attack, guys. Whatever. In 17th place, C.H.E.R.U.B. In 16th place, Murder Family. In 15th place, Spring Broken. In 14th place, Truth Seekers. In 13th place, Harvest Moon Festival. In 12th place, Queen Bee. In 11th place, Seeing Stars. In 10th place, Loo Loo Land. 9th place, Western Energy. In 8th place, The Circus. In 7th place, Apology Tour. In 6th place, The Full Moon. In 5th place, Ozzies. In 4th place, Oops. In 3rd place, Unhappy Campers. In 2nd place, Exes and Oohs. And in 1st place, Mammon's Magnificent Musical Mid-Season Special featuring Fizzarolli. Go ahead and, I don't know, argue with me in the comments if there's something you disagree with. Agree with me if there's something you think is particularly good placement. Regardless of anything, please leave a like. Thank you for watching.